19 years old. I was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and I tried to take my own life 2 times. My boss was depressed. He was an alcoholic, drug addict. It took the second time to really actually wake up to myself and go, I'm quitting. Fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. What I realized was that if I don't either find a way to make money while I sleep or make money doing the thing I love, I will work until the day I die. Freedom, retired, traveling the world, doing what I love. I asked myself the question, I'm like, what do I need to change? And it was so crazy that, the download, universe, whatever, intuition just goes,
Welcome back to Beyond Your Breath podcast. We have a very special guest today. Now, this guy, before I tell you who it is, he created financial freedom for himself at the age of 23 and moved to Mexico. He has a podcast of his own that's inside the top 1% globally. And by 28 years old, he made his first $1 million. But what I love most about this guy is that he just genuinely gives a shit about people and he wants to see people win. And I've personally had the privilege of being mentored by him over the last few months, and it's been one of the most incredible experiences. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Morgan Nelson.
hello,
How are you?
I'm living the dream.
Good. Matches the brand too.
Yes,
Dream out loud, right?
of course, everything's got to be on brand.
Amazing. Morgs, I wanted to chat today around, crushing 2025. I'm seeing a lot of your stuff online at the moment too around like making 2025 your best year, and I really love the content that's coming out around it. But before we go into that, I'd love you to just give the viewers or the listeners a little bit of a breakdown on your story and like how you got here, how you went from a tradie, what the catalyst was to getting to where you are now.
Yeah, so long story cut short, I finished school. Like I always like to say, like my journey started back in school because the only reason I went to grade 12 was for the parties and the girls. Like my whole mindset back then was just living for the weekend. Like that was, and I think so it should. I think a lot of young people put so much pressure on themselves to be a certain person, get a certain grade, to go to university, to then beg. It's just, so I was really caught up in like living my life. And then when I finished school though, the issue was everybody that I was surrounded with, they were going to university, they were doing all that. But because I didn't focus at all, I didn't get scores good enough at all to get let into any university. Not that I wanted to go, but even if I wanted to go, I wouldn't get let in anywhere. Like not even to study a Bachelor of Arts. They were like, bro, like, what are you even doing? Like, they look at me like, what do you even get? Your score's so bad. Go work at McDonald's. So I did that actually. And no, I did that before that. I got fired from McDonald's actually. Yeah, I got fired right before Schoolies Week at McDonald's actually. That was a good story. And, so I that's the only reason I finished grade 12. So what I did after that, I went and traveled Europe. I had 2 months off, I had fun with my friends, and only to come back to have to face reality and actually get a job of some sort. A friend of mine calls me up and goes, do you want to be a chippy? I said, the fuck is a chippy? And he goes, being a carpenter. I said, what, laying carpet? I don't understand. Like, what do you, he goes, no, being a builder, I said, that'd be pretty fun. Let's do that. In my eyes, I thought tradies got the ladies. I was like, tradies? It's amazing. I'm 18. We're going to finish work at 2:00 every day, hit the pub. It's a phenomenal, right? Yeah. What a life. And I jumped in and I started working 10, 11, 12 hours a day. 6, 7 days a week. And I was like, what the freaking hell is this? I didn't sign up for this. And very quickly from the beginning, what I realized was that if I don't either find a way to make money while I sleep or make money doing the thing I love, I will work until the day I die. And that was a harsh reality. I looked around me on the job site. My boss was depressed. He was an alcoholic, drug addict. The other people that work with us, depressed, alcoholic, drug addicts. I looked at the most successful people on our job site. Maybe the guys are running a good gang, and they still, he was financially well on paper. It looked pretty good. Had the new car, had the boat, all this stuff. But they were just stressed all the time, and it's like if they didn't work for a week, they're broke. And I just sort of looked at all this. Then one day I saw a guy drive on the job site in a brand new BMW, and he gets out with thongs and a business shirt. I'm like, who is this guy? And they go, just keep working. He's the big boss. He's the builder. I go, how do I become the builder? And that was my first goal of going, I'm locking that in. By the age I'm 45, I'm 19 this time, I'm 18 this time. By the time I'm 45, I want to be wealthy, retired, and a retired builder and developer so I can just travel the world, have the BMW, drive on job site. By 45 to retire, that's young. That was the goal. So I was head down, working my ass off, 10, 11, 12, sometimes 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, just trying to make money. And then, because I was around those sorts of people for so long, I eventually became one of them as well. 19 years old, I was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and I tried to take my own life 2 times. And it took the second time to really actually wake up to myself and go, if nothing's going to actually change here, one of these times, I'm going to be successful at this. And I started to look around, and funny enough, how our body just knows what has to happen. I asked myself the question, I'm like, what do I need to change? And it was so crazy, but the download, universe, whatever, intuition just goes, go and eat some fruit and go for a run. Like fucking random as. But I'm like, okay. But if we think about that, like I was so unhealthy because I was living a tradie lifestyle, horrible food, drinking drugs every day. Just have some nutrition. Like eat some nutrition and start exercising. And within about 5 days of running and eating better food, I came home and just go, I'm quitting. Fuck this. And it's like I developed enough, I wouldn't even say self-worth at that level, but I think I developed enough awareness to go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
It can be better. I want to have better. And I moved back down here to the Gold Coast, and I just made a decision to go, like I had no idea how I was going to still create my dream life. Because in my head, it was freedom, retired, traveling the world, doing what I love. But it was at 45. And all I knew was that if I surround myself with people that have it, maybe I can learn some stuff from them. And I remember calling out one of my friends, Reese, and he had some properties, and he was pretty young. He was like 24 years old. He had a bunch of properties, and he'd travel, and I'm like, this guy's got a pretty good life. So I called him up one day. I said, dude, can you tell me like what you're doing? Like, how are you doing all this? And he goes, well, I just started this online business. Maybe you can come and check it out as well. I said, okay. If you're making money, then let's have a look. And I go along to this meeting, and it was a network marketing meetup. And anyone who's ever been to one of them before know exactly what I'm talking about. It just looked like a cult. And I messaged him from out the front. I said, dude, this is a cult. I'm not coming inside. Like, and he goes, remember you're broke. Come inside. I'm like, okay. And I went inside, and for the first time I saw people that were actually my age, in their 20s and their 30s, retired, traveling, doing amazing things. And they weren't working their ass off on a job site. I had no idea life could be like that. See, I thought to be a millionaire, you had to be born into wealth or win the lottery, or be one of those just, lucky sperm club, super smart, super intelligent, invent something. I kid you not, I legitimately thought it's the only way you could be a millionaire. So I wrote it off completely. I'm never going to make $1 million. I'm never going to do that. And I came into this room, and for the first time ever, I saw just everyday people doing extraordinary things. And I was hooked because I just thought this. I'm like, I have no idea what this business is. Network marketing, people saying it's a pyramid scheme, people saying all this stuff. I have no idea what it is. But you know what doesn't make sense? Staying in a job and a career that I hate, that makes me miserable for the majority of my life. That also doesn't make sense. So I'm going to take a risk. Jim Carrey, I heard him say, his dad, he said a thing about his dad. He goes, my dad was a really funny man. My dad was a really funny man, and he could have been an extremely successful comedian, but he took the easy road, he took the safe road, and he became an accountant. And after 30 years, he lost his job, and their family suffered. And he watched his dad take the easy road and still struggle and still lose. So he goes, seeing that made me think, well, hey, you can even lose doing what you hate, so you might as well take a shot doing what you love.
Yeah.
And that's always been my mentality of like, we might not even get out. Like, no one's getting out alive. No one's getting out of this world alive. So give it a crack. And 21 years old, I started this business. I sucked at it so bad, but I watched so many people come in and quit. And I just knew that, hey, if I'm one of those people who don't quit, I get a better fighting chance than the guys who quit. That was my mentality. I'm like, I can outwork my shit skill set until, what's that saying? It's like, skill doesn't hustle. Fuck, I forget what it is, but it's like, if your skill isn't hustle, you got to hustle the skill. It's like I had no skills in the beginning, but I had work ethic. I'm like, I'm going to be like, it was just crazy days. But I had a big why. And, a lot of people talk about, you need to have your why. What's your why? And for early on, I got it very confused, thinking that your why is like a vision. So sometimes people say, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And a lot of people will say, well, because I want to have freedom. I want to travel. I want to, I want to be successful. I want these things. But our brains are motivated by two things, getting pleasure and avoiding pain. So, but pain is far more motivating than pleasure. And we notice because I've now coached, I don't know, it'd have to be like close to 100,000 people, either virtually, online, or in person now across the last decade. And every country I've worked in, I have people, I've never met anyone who's ever come up to me and say, I don't have the goal to be extremely happy and wealthy. Everybody has a goal. I want to be happier. I'd like to have more money. I'd like to have more time. But so everyone has the same goal, but why is it not everybody has it? Because somewhere along in their mind, their unconscious mind, they believe that getting the thing or going through the process of getting the thing that's pleasurable will incur more pain. So they won't do it because pain is far more motivating than pleasure. And so when I started to play with this, I was like, the Lamborghini, the lifestyle, that's somewhat motivating to me, but only to some degree. It wasn't until I really got clear on what my why actually was. And the why stands for what hurts you.
What is it? What's
back
yours?
then what it was I actually drew it. Because everyone's like cutting pictures of their, the cars, I drew my vision board, and that's why we take people through the Dream Lad method. You guys have done it, right?
Yeah.
It's like we take people through, draw the vision you want, because it actually sinks into your nervous system. Then, because when we draw and we create, it's going to release oxytocin, serotonin from the body. It's a lot more embedded into you. Like it's called the IKEA effect. One of the reasons IKEA make you put together your entire packages is because they've found this, that you actually have a better relationship with their product and their brand because you built it.
Does this tie into like the sunk cost fallacy a little bit? Like you spent
not sunk cost, it's different, similar, but the IKEA effect is if you can have somebody actually create something themselves, okay, then they're going to form a much bigger attachment to that thing, okay, versus if you get a table just delivered to you, it's just a table.
Yep.
Table comes in a flat pack, you build it, you have this sense of accomplishment.
Yep.
The sense of identity is now attached to the product being done, and it only got done because you did it. And you're a lot more attached to it. So you're liking the brand more. Everyone complains about the flat packs, but it's still one of the biggest companies in the world, right?
True.
So we're talking about the vision. So if we create the vision, we create this sense of like an IKEA effect happening within us. So it's no longer now just cut out pictures from a magazine and put onto our wall. Because I did that in the beginning as well, create this vision board of the life that I wanted. And it's good, sure, if you've never done anything like this before, do it. It's not going to hurt. But eventually it'll turn into this thing where you walk past every day and it means nothing to you. But if you design this picture, it embeds it into your brain, into your body. And I used to put music over the top when I'd write it, and I'd like anchor me into this vivid vision. But then on the other side, I'd write my why, what hurt me. And on this side, I just had pictures of the job site, being broke. Like, what's the things I'm saying no to now that I wish I couldn't say no to? And it was having to go to a job every single day, not being able to take time off, not being able to travel, not having money, not being healthy, being unhappy. All of these things, and that was the pain. Now here's the kicker. Every single day you wake up and you have the decision to go to work on one of those visions. Which one will you choose? People think that they can take action towards their life and avoid fear or avoid pain. It's incorrect. Each vision is going to have pain. Each vision is going to have pain. You'll either have pain of regret or pain of discipline, but you choose. Yeah. You'll either have the pain of waking up early. Like let's say in 2025, you want to get in the best shape of your life. Then you're going to have to start doing things differently to what you did in 2024. You might have to wake up an hour earlier before you go to a job to actually get to the gym. You might have to start planning time on a Sunday, perhaps to meal prep and get clear for your nutrition for the week. Or maybe you hire somebody. But you have to do some things a little bit differently. And it might come with some costs or some time or some planning or some sacrifice. Mm-hmm. In fact, each vision is going to come with a pain and a sacrifice. You see, the good vision we want is going to come with a sacrifice of who you are now. So I'm going to sacrifice what I have to have what I ultimately want, good sacrifice. But in order to have that, you have to sacrifice what you're currently giving, which means like I sacrificed birthday dinners. I sacrificed going out with my friends. I sacrificed holidays sometimes. I had my friends go on holidays. You should come. I'm like, far out. I wish I could, but I told myself that I'm gonna work. I told myself I'm gonna hit this goal this month, and if I go travel with you, I know I'm not gonna hit the goal. So I had to sacrifice short-term things so I could have long-term benefits. But on the other side, the painful side, we sacrifice what we ultimately want so we can have what we want now. The reason people stay where they are is because it's far more rewarding. We get that dopamine hit. We get that level of satisfaction to just go, you know, when we choose a path that's certain, even if the path that we know is certain is not what we want, it's familiar, we'll still choose it, not because we actually want it, but because it feels comfortable and normal. Therefore, our body feels safe. So we can still be unhappy with something and feel unsafe about it.
Yeah.
You know, so I like to really challenge these things. So it really changed me when I started to put these two visions together. I'm like, what do I really want and what do I not want so bad? And every single day I'd wake up and go, which vision am I choosing? I'm either going to choose this one, or I'm going to have to do things today that are hard, that are disciplined, I'm going to make hard decisions, or I'm going to choose the road that's easy. And then life will eventually just always be hard. And what I always knew is if I could sacrifice a few nights of Prosecco now, ultimately I can pop champagne on a yacht. And, you know, now, stupidly, a lot of our trips involve yachts, helicopters, and champagne. We've had to actually cut it back. We don't drink much anymore. But, you know, it really is, you know, life's really caught up to that point now when, you know, it's not, you know, and I'm fortunate to say, but like I don't look at the price tag with a lot of shit. I sort of just buy what I want because that's the life that I want. Yeah. But it started here. 21, I did that. 23 was financially free, moved to Mexico. But then every single time I went to that next level again. So from 23 to 24, I built a 6-figure business. We're doing over 6 figures a year. By the time I was 25, we'll turn over 7 figures a year in sales in our team.
This is network marketing still?
In network marketing.
Yep.
And then I was the number one income earner in the whole company under the age of 25. And then I built that all the way up until I was about 27 when COVID hit. And I kind of just got over it. And I stepped into this next version of me, which was always going to happen. I love teaching and educating and telling people how I did it. Because when I land on the beach, I tell you this, when I land on the beach in Mexico, when I was 23 years old, living the exact vision that I drew, I had one question. How the fuck did I do that? Because at 19, I was trying to take my life, alcoholic, drug addict. 21, I started this business. I was so introverted. Like I didn't want to talk to people. I was so shy. I was the class clown stuff, but around my close friends. All right. Anyone else? I'm like, I had to learn sales, learn marketing, learn systems, learn social media, learn communication, all these things. And then at 23, I was like, what on earth happened? And, you know, the rest is history now. We've just sort of recycled. Now I've created the Dream Lad method. Is what I'm writing a whole book about. 5 laws to literally create any dream, any goal to actually make it happen, backed by neuroscience, psychology, and a bit of metaphysics as well, because I think it's the combination of all of them. So I think there's a lot of like woo-woo out there. People like, if you just sit on your crystals and you light enough sage and you chant your affirmations 5 times effectively every morning at 11:11, yeah, and your goals will become a reality. I think that's complete bullshit, that whole space. But there's some elements that are very truthful when it goes into the quantum mechanics of it. Yeah. Very truthful. And then I also love to really understand how our bodies actually operate on a neuroscience level. And if we can really hack our brain and the mysteries of the quantum, this is what I teach. We've seen just crazy results through so many people and just in my own life. Like every new thing I do, and I bring it back to this. I go through the laws. We've got the right vision, the right environment, the right vehicle, timing, me to go to that next level. So it's a bit about my story.
I love it, man. It's so interesting because I've only obviously known you like this year, and to see you speak so confidently on stages of like thousands of people, and then to hear that story that first time that you went to like a speaking gig and your friend was like, I want to be up there, and you're like, why would you want to be up there? And just to see you now, it's amazing. And
you should see my first video. You've done training with me, hey?
Yeah,
I forgot to show the video. I'll have to show it one time, but I have the first video I ever did, like a training video, where I was telling my friend, actually, I said, let me teach this stuff that I've been figuring out about the brain. This was the start of the Dream Lad method. It was an 8-minute video. So 8-minute video turned into a 42-hour seminar now. And I'm like, I gotta show you this stuff. And he goes, hey, just wait for a sec. I'll get my phone. I'm like, why? And he goes, I'm gonna film it. Fucking why? He goes, we'll post it to our team. I'm like, no, dude, I'm showing you. He goes, no, come on. On comfort zone, come on, what do you choose? I'm like, fuck me, man. So you gotta have good people around you. And he filmed this video. I was in a white singlet tradie as shit. And I'm like, yeah, so mate, you see, if you're on the right person and you're fucking, like this literally I was talking, I was like, yeah, if you're fucking this guy over here, and I'm like, it's disgusting to watch. But that's the first time I ever taught anything to a camera. Wow. And then so I like to play that trainer's training so people can actually, you know, pedestal me and go, oh, so if I do this craft for a while, I can become good as well.
Yeah, you need to show me that video. Maybe we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I kind of want to show people, and every time it's on, I'm like, anyway, we've seen enough.
I need to see it now. Let's segue into your book that you're writing at the moment and these laws. I've had a bit of experience with these laws, obviously the Dream Out Loud method. How far away from are we releasing this book? Like, you know, I know you can't give too much away, but if you were to give a little bit of insight into like what's coming, like what's this book all about? So
when it's coming, that's an interesting thing, because it turns out writing a book for someone who's dyslexic is quite challenging.
Could imagine.
I was like, I never read a book cover to cover until I was 23. When I was living in Mexico, I read The Big Leap, and I'm like, wow, I just finished that book. It's like, whoa. And it took months, you know, so reading and, you know, English was never good for me at all. In fact, they told me in school, we recommend you don't do anything in reading, writing, journalism, or speaking, because it's not your strong suit. Now I have a podcast, I speak around the world, my whole life is speaking.
How interesting.
Yeah, right? So it's very challenging. So I'm probably like 80% of the way through my first sort of brain dump of the book and mapping it all out. Then I'm going to have some professional people sort of go through and just make my English actually sound good and improve it so you can read it. Probably doesn't sound like a 2-year-old. But, you know, I would really love to see probably pre-release by end of 2025. Nice. I think, you know, because I'm not just wanting to whip this together and, you know, just put out something crap. I am really wanting to put something out that, you know, if I died the day after it's released, this is like the Bible on how to accomplish any goal you ever set. And not in some shitty, like, you got to set SMART goals. Like, this is how our brain operates. This is literally what drives motivation, intrinsic motivation. It's what drives, it's how we play in the quantum space. Like, it's how we mix behavioral psychology, neuroscience, and, you know, quantum physics at the same time to actually create your dream life. So, you know, it all started, it's a big conversation. Obviously, it's like a 42-hour seminar. I guess I just got very fascinated when I was 23. I was like, how did that happen? And I started to sort of reverse engineer some things. And what I realized is to really create and accomplish any goal, and this isn't going to come, you know, people aren't going to be like, whoa, is the first step is you need to have the vision, okay, which I already sort of spoke about, but I like to speak about having the two visions. So what's the vision you really want? And what's the vision that's going to happen if you don't change anything? Because that way we've got our pleasure and pain right there in front of us. And every day we choose. And if, you know, our unconscious mind has a job to actually keep us safe and keep us alive. So if we can bring the unconscious conscious, and we can actually become aware that the thing we're avoiding is actually the thing we don't want the most, your brain's gonna go, oh shit. Because the thing is this, there is, like I said before, there's pain either way. So if we walk down the path of, okay, let's say in 2025, you know, I don't want to start a business in 2025, but I need to start selling. I'm not good at selling. I need to start talking to strangers. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. Okay, let's say if I start doing that. Right now, in this second, the moment I try that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be scary. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful. On the other side, I can choose not to do it. So I get the payoff of going, oh, well, it's a lot easier. I'm going to play my PlayStation. I'm going to go for a walk on the beach. I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to feel, and then I'm going to justify to myself as to why I can't do it. Well, but you're not good at sales. Well, that makes sense. So we ask ourselves questions, limiting questions. But why can't I do this? Why questions are a limiting question? Because they usually will seek, it's like you open your unconscious mind up to like a drawer of evidence. So if we go, oh, but why is sales so hard for me? Our unconscious mind will go, well, I don't know, but let me have a look. Pull out the filing cabinet. Well, remember in grade 2 when you try to speak to that girl? Yeah, and she shut you down? Yeah, well, that's why you suck at sales, because you can't even speak to a girl. Oh, yeah, and then remember in grade 5 when you got told to shut up because you're speaking too much and you made it a story that you shouldn't speak up? Yeah, that's why you suck at sales. And then here, and then this time, and you put the filing cabinet back in, then we justify and we go, but so that's why I'm not good at sales. Oh, well, it makes sense then. So that I won't do it. Then we sit in our own pity and go, well, it's not our fault. I have no other option but to do this because it makes sense now. And we pull up old beliefs in the past and we make sense of it in the moment. We justify it. The worst things we can do is justify, because anything that follows the word because will start to form a new belief. Well, why can't I do that? Well, because in grade 2 and grade 5, That makes sense. Like, I'll just sit in this shit vision then. So now we get the payoff of staying in the victim mode and going, well, it feels good. I wish I could change. I wish I could be as good as these guys, but I can't. And the reason we stay there is because in the moment, it's pleasurable. So we've just done exactly what the brain wants to do. We avoided pain and we got pleasure. But we'd never actually think about, well, what's going to happen? What's the compounding effect of this one decision? If I do this every day, it gets hard. What's the compounding effect of this in 10 years? We know what it will be. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's like, in 10 years, you're super fat, you're super unhealthy, you're super broke, your life's falling apart. That's probably what's going to happen. If people got throat cancer from smoking one cigarette, they wouldn't smoke one cigarette. But they get it from doing it for 50 years, one cigarette every hour, every day, 50 years. One day they wake up, doctor says you got throat cancer. They go, shit, how'd that happen? Well, we can't pinpoint exactly when, but somewhere between now and the last 50 years, that's when your life got shit.
Yep.
Right? And that's what happens, because this is why we've got to understand what's happening in the brain, because people will opt out for what's needed to do what they want now when chasing this vision, and their brain will rationalize and justify it, and it'll actually make sense, and they talk themselves out of it. It's crazy and it makes sense why they would, because they avoid pain, they got pleasure. Yeah. But what I like to do is go, well, what happens if I do this in 10 years? So now we flip the cards. So if I say, okay, well, what happens is if I keep doing every day, this sucks. This is hard. I get that. It's hard to do cold calls. It's hard to get up there. It's hard to be, speak on front of stage. Like, my first proper speaking gig was in front of 800 people. That was hard.
That would have been scary.
It was very hard. But I kept going and I kept going and I kept going. And then I think about this. What happens if in 10 years' time, all I did was every time I got hard, I just did it anyway. And I just bit the bullet for the 3.7 seconds where it actually feels hard before I got to the other side where it felt good because I did the thing that was hard. What happens in 10 years if I build an inventory of collection of evidence like that? Well, in 10 years, maybe I'll probably be a millionaire. I'll probably travel. I'll probably feel really good about myself, have a good self-image. Holy shit, that's fantastic. So if I do the thing that's hard, eventually I'll have this life that's extraordinary. Okay, so what happens over here then? What happens if I keep doing the thing that's extremely easy now and feels good now, and I do that every single time? Every time it gets hard and discomfort, I do it's easy. Well, in 10 years, probably, I would guess, then, because we're like trees, we're either growing or we're dying. Mm-hmm. There's no straight lines in the universe, either up or down. So we're either compounding in a negative or compounding upwards. Mm-hmm. If you're not choosing the left side and compounding positively, we must be choosing negatively, compounding negatively. So probably in 10 years, you'll be more unhealthy than what you are now, more unhappy than what you are now, because you have a library of collection now showing of all the more reasons why you can't do it, because now you just have a decade more of evidence. You probably have less money, less friends. It just makes sense for that to happen. So which vision are you choosing now? See how we've always got two visions. We've got the one that we don't want, the one that we do want, but then also the one that we're choosing right now. Yeah. So that's really what we've got to look at. And it's a continual fight with our brain. It's a continual fight with our brain of choosing to do the things that's scary and hard now, because that's always the direction. If it's a little bit challenging, it's a little bit hard, that's the way. I see people kind of screw up the vision setting process as well. And it never really made sense to me until I've started really putting in the research for this book. So this blew my mind. When I was 21, I have a friend of mine, Carrie. She's a massive New York Times broker. She has her own brokerage firm. She's super wealthy. And when I was 21, she comes over here to Australia and she starts punching all these numbers into a calculator. She goes, Morgan, if you just invest this much money per month, every month for the next 40 years, when you're 61 years old, you're going to be worth $1.2 million. I'm like, 40 years? 1.2 million? I'm like, fuck, Carrie, I want to make that in the next 5 years. And it's almost like I disregarded what she said as if I couldn't have done both. And that's how my mind went. I was like, well, I don't want it in 40 years. I want it in 5 years. But I could have done both if I listened to her properly, but I didn't. And so I didn't start investing in 21. I didn't start investing in shares until I was 27. Mm-hmm. and I regret it. I lost 6 years of compounding interest. And it didn't make sense until I saw this study. So what they did, this study in New York in the Emily, I might butcher her name, Emily Balcetis lab. They did a study on high performance and goal achievement. And what they noticed was the reason why most people are either dead or dead broke by the time they're retired. Obviously, if they're dead, so many other conversations to be had about that. But the people who are alive, what they found is that they're all dead broke before they're 65 years old. 4% of people are financially okay, meaning they can support themselves. 1% of people by the time of 65 are wealthy.
Is this in the world?
Yep.
Wow.
They studied across, they studied people from when they left college all the way until they're 65. Wow. And they studied out of what's the consensus here. And what they found was 33% of people are dead. So people walk around thinking they live forever. Well, a third of a chance that you won't even be alive by 65. Freak accident, who knows? Like all the random ways that we could die. Mm-hmm. But a third of people don't even make it to 65. The people who are left, they have, I think it's somewhere around, now I haven't looked at these numbers in a long time, but the large majority, somewhere about 34% are dead, like literally dead broke, right? Completely broke. They have to keep working at 65 to live. There's about 10 or, I'm screwing these numbers up, okay? So I'm adding in my head. There's about 15 or so percent of people that are needing to be supported by their family, than the rest for those other numbers. So you're either dead broke, having to keep working, being supported by family or government pension to actually keep going. Then there's a small percentage of people, the 4% of people who actually have enough money to support themselves. 1% are wealthy. 1% are actually financially wealthy. And they wanted to do a study like why that is. And I was curious on that because I asked people in rooms, I go, if I put a gun to your head and I said to you, in the next 1 month, you have to learn exactly how to become a millionaire in the next 20 years through investing in stocks, could you get the resources available to do it? Everyone's hands go up. I'm like, so you all know how to. So why don't people do it? And what they did was this. They realized that the size of your goal matters and how far ahead you put the goalpost matters. You see, when you're talking to a 21-year-old like me about making $1 million by the time you're 60,
it's not sexy.
$1 million, but you talk to me about making $100 million by 60, maybe you got my attention. Holy, okay, I'll start doing some things. But $1 million, fuck, that's so small by so far away. It's but if you said, I'm gonna show you how to make $1 million in the next 5 years, got my attention. Especially if I'm 21, don't know how. I'm gonna show you through smart investing, make $1 million in 5 years. Got my attention. I can focus on that. But even $1 million in 8 years, it's starting to fade. For me personally, it's starting to 8 years so fucking far. I'm nearly 40, So what they notice is there's this one thing that actually has to happen in our body for us to actually be motivated. People ask me all the time, how do you stay motivated? Well, I set proper goals. Because my goals fire me up. Because here's the thing, if it's too far away or if it's too astronomical or too small, it doesn't motivate your body properly. So same thing with the investing for retirement. This is why most people don't invest for retirement, because it's too far away for them to actually get excited enough to. So what has to happen? We have all our blood pressure in our body. There's a certain blood pressure. I forget the name of it. This is the first amount that gets released. When this gets released, it releases adrenaline through the body. So our blood pressure goes up, and we excrete adrenaline. This ignites motivation. So if it rises enough, we're really motivated. Boom, we're in it. And what they noticed is when the goalposts were set so far away, it doesn't ignite that blood pressure. So it doesn't change anything in our bodies. Yeah. I've sat in front of, this is why people come to me, what's your goals? I'm going to make $1 million. Okay, how much did you make last year? Oh, I don't have a job and this. So I'm going to guarantee, I don't want to be a pessimist, but it's probably not going to happen, right?
I think that's more realism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's and I don't like the word realistic at all, but when we're setting goals, we've got to have a healthy level of, because
of course.
I don't like the word realistic because someone probably would have said to the Wright brothers, be realistic.
True.
You can't get metal and put fans in it and send people across the world, right?
Yeah.
Someone would have said, you can't be realistic, Henry Ford. No one's going to want to drive that. Everyone loves horses. Turns out people like cars. So every new innovative person is going to go through someone saying, be realistic. So that's why I don't like that word. I think don't be realistic with your dreams and your innovations and your ideas. Go crazy. But be realistic in the actionable execution of the method and how it's going to happen.
Yep.
Because what's been shown, little Sally, who's on the dole this year, 5 kids, single mom, she's so far in the negative. She goes, I'm going to make $1 million next year. She's not giving herself a fighting chance. She's got to give herself something that's actually somewhat attainable so she can see it in her distance and grab it. So look, why don't we focus on making 100K? All right? Let's look at a business you got. Let's do 100K. And I'll tell you what, if you do 105 months, let's change your goal. Let's just fucking put a 0 on it then if you feel like. But let's get that foundation first, because currently you don't have evidence to show that you're someone who can do $1 million in a year. Yeah. So your brain will go, well, you can't do that. It brings up all the things in the past. I can't do it. Back to the old vision. Oh, I can't do it. So it can't be too far away. And it can't be too huge because it does the exact same thing. So this is why I don't really like 10x goals. I like a 5x goal. Okay? I like a 5x goal where you go, what's the absolute best you could do next year? Now, I've done this to you guys plenty of times, haven't I? So what do you think you can do the next little bit? I'm like, cool. Do more. Do like 30 or 40% more than that. You're like...
But it's just enough.
Yeah.
It's just enough. Like, it's enough to make me go, I can do it. And I remember that one time recently that you were like, do another 30 grand this month. Huh. And I was like...
With like a week left or something, right?
With like a week left. And I was like, that's not possible. It's going to be hard. And I was literally up that night in my fucking DMs like a madman. And we got it done at the last minute.
So this is how. So we set goals too big. We get overwhelmed. Like, that's too big. That's too scary. I'm overwhelmed. It's crazy. We set them too small, right? Where we know we can attain them. It does one or two things. Number one is it also doesn't ignite the blood pressure in a way where it motivates you, because your lifestyle change, not going to be that much. If you make 150K this year, you say next year I'm going to increase by 10%. I'm going to make 165K. You don't even get to fucking notice that in the bank account. No. You're not really going to notice it. So you got to have something drastically bigger. At least go for 200, 220, 250. Fuck it. Go for double it at least. Like I try double revenue every year. And what happens is if it's too small, it doesn't ignite the blood pressure. But what this does, this is fascinating. Because if I said to you, you're going for that goal, I forget what it was. Maybe you were like, I'm going to try to go for 50K this month. And you know you can do it. What happens is you go, okay, if I'm going to hit 50K, I got to DM these people. I got to do this. I can do this. I can do that. Maybe I'll do some podcasts. Maybe I'll have that. I'll do this. Because naturally our brains are always want to conserve energy and lower our standards and our goals. Because we want to, in case if we get attacked by a tiger, we got to keep our energy. And so it's going to lower it. We have all these ways that we could hit it. But then when I say to you, no, fuck 50, do 80. You go, well, it is possible. Great. So if it was possible and if you were going to do it, how would you do it? The magical question. If you were going to do it, if you were going to make this completely fail-proof, how would you do it? And then you go, well, I'd have to eliminate 80% of this crap and just really do this and this. If I did just this and this really good, I'd hit it. Then fucking do those two things. See, when we hit the right goal, which is somewhere in between, not too far away, not too close, not too small, not too big, in that middle zone, it excites us enough. It releases the amount of motivation and adrenaline in the blood, but it keeps us laser focused. Because if you think about what's happening on a primal level, if we get scared, what happens in the body is we focus, right? We focus to keep us safe. So what happens is if we expand this enough where our body goes, holy shit, we focus on what actually matters. So if you just do this and this, you'll accomplish the goal. And we eliminate all the other bullshit. Don't do the things. You do just those things. I did the same thing to myself this year. We did more revenue in a month. We did more revenue last month than I did last financial year.
That last month was nuts.
Yeah. But because I did that though, I go, well, if I was going to do that this month, what do I have to do? Just do this and this. Okay, wow. So it's almost like to accomplish the goals bigger than what I thought was possible is actually easier. Yeah. Wow. So that's really dialing in the vision. But anyway, I don't know if you want to talk in this interview.
Like, man, I feel it's been great. It's been great. Like, I have so many questions, and we do have to be conscious of time. There's two questions that I want to ask you, and there's so many gold nuggets in there that if you're listening, you can take this and you can make 2025 the best year of your life. You talk about like moving away. This is the first question. You talk about moving away from pain and going towards pleasure. I've seen you have so much success with the Dream Out Loud method. How do you, once you're getting people clear on what they want, so what they want to move towards, they know what they want to move away from, How do you get them past that line of them being like, I don't believe I can have it? Or, you know, when they have the vision of what they want, but maybe there's the self-sabotaging patterns playing out as they start to go on that journey of like, okay, I'm going to go get that thing, but then they just want to fall back into old patterns, the familiar, the shit that they don't like, but they know what's coming. You know, I'm also curious about this because I've worked with a lot of humans as well. And like, people say that they want things, but what do you think is the thing? What do you think is the thing that they have to overcome in order to actually get it?
So this is going to be very interesting. This is the first time I've talked about this. So I had a very interesting experience myself a few months ago, and because I'm always analyzing the onion of our brain, and everything I've always taught is results up top. In order to get results, you got to have some sort of behavior, you got to do something to get a result. In order to do a thing, you need to have a skill set.
Yeah.
You got to learn, you got to know how to do the thing to get. Then there's beliefs that drive the skill set. And you know, this still really will get 99% of people what they want. Really in controlling the things that they actually believe to be true. Primarily, our beliefs are formed off our evidence. Yep. Like, that's what we're looking for. So when people say, I don't believe that I can do it yet, that's okay. I jump out of airplanes for fun. When I first did it, I didn't believe that I could do it yet. I would fucking hope that I could do it, but I didn't believe it because I didn't have evidence yet. Yeah. So I started to look for other people that did the thing and started to just borrow that evidence. And I remember one of my first mentors looked at me, we were surfing one day, and she looked at me and she goes, I was telling about my goals. She goes, you can do that. I believe in you. I was like, it was just so, I was like, really? You actually think I can? She goes, of course, I know you can. And I was like, holy fuck. That changed the game. I borrowed her belief in myself before I had it in myself. So you got to have good people around you that actually can project their beliefs onto you. This is why I'm big on the mastermind. Yeah. This is why I'm big on people coming to the into the right environment. Because if I have beliefs that, I have a crazy belief about everybody that you're absolutely untapped and you can do so much more than what you think you can. And I push that belief into people that you can do more. You can do a lot more. And I also believe in your potential to do that. And people start to get that. So being in the right environment can shift our beliefs about ourselves. But it's really borrowing evidence from people that have already done the thing first. That's the easiest way. Yep. Unless you're trying to colonize Mars or innovate a brand new product never been done before, then you don't have that evidence yet. Then you've got to have someone with good self-trust and good self-evidence of previous things. But most people are not trying to do that. They're trying to accomplish things that have already been done before, which is fine. Borrow other people's belief that it's possible and start to get the evidence for yourself that it can also be possible for you. That's one of the biggest things. There's 4 things, but that's one of the major things that build our beliefs. Underneath this is our values, the things that we actually value. This is what motivates us. But this blew my fucking mind, okay? I still haven't been able to put this into how to teach this yet, but I'm going to teach this. This is so in-depth, so I'm going to try to explain it in the way that I can, because of brand new sort of learning for me. But there's a whole other level. So I thought values was some of the deepest motivators for us. Things we value, we move towards, because values are motivations, they're feelings. Usually the qualities give us feelings will motivate us. I value love, success, and fun. I'm more motivated to help people be successful and enjoy my life. I also don't want certain things in my life, which are my away values, which we go through at the Dream Lad method. Every time people will self-sabotage is because there's a conflict usually here. So for me, I used to really value success, saying, I want to be successful, but I had a belief that said, well, if I'm very successful, I'm going to be lonely, bored, and outcasted. That was a limiting belief. The thing I didn't want the most, my away values, was to be lonely and bored. So I believed attaining the success I want, pleasure, would give me the thing I ultimately don't want, pain. So I'll sabotage every single time. So it wasn't until I got in and did that deep work, I quantum my income. I went from 15K in October to 30-something K in November. In January, we did 86K. February, I did $180,000. Wow. It was a leap like that in like 5 months. And that, all that stuff. Underneath values is identity. And that's what I was sort of like, I'd stop it. I'd be like, identity is like the fundamental. If you want to really create your dream life, you got to work on the identity level. Like who is the future version of you? The affirmations, the full, it's in like that core knowing. Yeah. And then I was really experimenting the other day, like deep in my own psyche. I just like to sort of take the hat off and explore. Why not? On a Saturday night, do it. Glass of whiskey and ask myself deep questions. And fear. I don't know how to teach this yet, but fear is deeper than identity. Because we have fears that are so fundamentally hardwired in, that are so deep, where people have, so if we look at our needs, these are needs. Yeah. People have needs. Tony Robbins teaches needs, which is probably what led him to this sort of thing. So I don't really understand his needs as well, when the way he teaches it, but he teaches in a way where he thinks needs are more important than values. And I had this understanding that we do have these things called needs, but they're not the same ones that Tony teaches. There's these different levels that we all have needs we're trying to get met at a very unconscious level. This will come before our values. And I have a need of significance. So I was doing some deep work and I was like, fuck, I have a need that one of my needs that really drives me. Like, look at everything I do. I want to be on stage. I want to do the things. I want to help people. I want to create impact. I want to have a significant impact in people's lives. It's a good need. And there's other needs for approval, for acceptance, fundamental things. But the thing that we need the most, we need it because we're afraid the most of something on the back end of it. So when I dived into why would someone need significance, it's because they're afraid of being rejected. Wow. And I was like, this is fucking deep shit. I'm like, this is way more motivating. Because fear, if I get a stick out and I chase someone with it, they'll fucking run. That's going to motivate you. Doesn't matter what your values are, man. If you're like, I'll never jump out of an airplane, I'll put a gun to your head. So you jump or I'll shoot you. You'll fucking jump, you know. So true. Fear will motivate you way more than a value. So this is a whole, I'm very excited. I may or may not put this in the book. It's pretty in depth. But I think this is ultimately what motivates people. Because we can give them all the tools and they go out there, but they're not getting one of their needs met at a super unconscious level, even though their beliefs are right, their values are right, they're doing the affirmations, they're doing all the things, but they have some fear that's driving them in the back to try and meet a need that they're not even aware is conscious. They'll completely be manipulated and controlled by whoever is in control, the stick, controlling that fear on them. You know, so there's so many things. People have needs for strength and power. And you could even think of people that we know. Who do we know who needs, one of their needs is strength and power, that they have to do strong things. One of their things that they're most afraid of, if they'd be afraid of not getting strength and power, is probably afraid of being rejected, weakness, and not respected. So these things would motivate you far more before we even talk about values. So that's why I think people sabotage. I'm very excited to explore it even deeper. So hopefully next time we talk, maybe on this podcast, or so I'm excited to sort of unpack this even deeper and put this into my learnings.
I feel like we need like a part 2, 3, 4. And I could stay talking all day about this sort of stuff. I'm deeply fascinated by it. But I've got one question to leave you on, because I know we need to be time sensitive. The theme of this podcast is about becoming limitless. And we ask a specific question to every guest that comes on to get their version of what it means. What does limitless mean to you? What does it mean to be limitless?
To probably just go far further than what you actually think is possible. To find the limit, find your perceived limit, break through it, and get to the other side and realize that that limit was actually only 40%. I think for me, being limitless would just be a continual realization of how powerful you are and what you can do, and realizing there's always another level of not achievement, but another level of potential to be actualized on.
Love it, man. Yeah. And lastly, where can people find you, your stuff, your events, your mastermind, everything about you? Where's the best channels? Yeah, so a few things. YouTube, we put all our podcasts and stuff on YouTube now, so you can just find me, Morgan Nelson, on there. Instagram is my spot. Come hang out. They can chat to me there. I reply to all my DMs, Morgan T. Nelson. And our podcast, Dream Out Loud. We do a lot of stuff on there. And then I can give you guys, if you get Riley to send it to you, we can give them our high performance, my life by design planner. Yeah, sick. It's how I plan my days of like, you know, because we can talk all about that next time, but they can get that. It's just like how I actually plan my days to get the most done and create, you know, because this year it was my biggest revenue year, but I'm also had 5 overseas holidays. I've spent over 4 months of this year traveling. Yeah. And I think that's what's cool. So cool. You know, create your ideal life of the things that, you know, meaningful to you. The mind's travel and freedom, success, impact, joy. And I have a blend of that. So I think the planner really helps people. So we can put the link and they can get that as well. For sure, we'll chuck it all in the show notes. Morgan, thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
See you next time, hey?
Let's go.